Okay, this is the next lesson in Algebra 2, Unit 4, Graphing Quadratic Functions. This lesson is called Writing in Standard Form and Vertex Form. Okay. So sometimes it's more beneficial to have a quadratic equation in a particular form. For example, if you want to know the vertex right away, it might be a good idea to write something in vertex form. We've already learned about standard form and vertex form, and now we are going to convert between the two forms. So just a couple things to refresh your memory. The standard form of a quadratic function, if you remember, looks like this. F of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And the vertex form looks like this. F of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So, example 1 wants you to take each function, which they're both in vertex form, and it wants you to write them in standard form. Okay? Now, to write them in standard form, we're going to do the order of operations. Order of operations. Okay. So, first things first. For example 1a. First, I'm going to take care of the x plus 2 squared in parentheses. So we have f of x equals 5 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. If you need to write it out and distribute it, you can. That's fine. X plus 2 times x plus 2. Do out the distribution and combine like terms. The quick way to square a binomial. Hopefully you remember this from Algebra 1, or hopefully I refresh your memory right now. Whenever you have to do a binomial squared, what you do is you square the first term, so x squared is x squared. You multiply these two terms together, and then you double it. So if you multiply these together, you get 2x, and if you double that, you get 4x. And then you square this term. 2 squared is 4. Then we have the minus 9 still. Okay. If that shortcut, that technically was a shortcut, because you should be able to do that really quickly. I went slow just now. X squared is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Then times 2 gives you 4x. And you square that 2 to get 4. Okay. Again, you should be able to do that really quickly once you know the shortcut. If you don't like the shortcut, then what you have to do is you have to actually do this. You have to do x plus 2 times x plus 2, and then distribute it out and do all the work, and it should bring you to that. But hopefully you know the shortcut and you can use the shortcut. That way you don't have to do all that out each time. Okay. But anyway, at this point, what you're going to do, again, we have to get this in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. What you're going to do now is you're going to distribute the 5 to all 3 of these terms. So we're going to get the following. We're going to get f of x equals 5x squared plus 20x plus 20, and then minus 9. And then combine these like terms to get plus 11. 5x squared plus 20x plus 11. Okay. Example 1b, same thing. Let's stop. We have to follow the order of operations. Let's start by taking care of the x minus 4 that's being squared. Okay. So again, if you don't know how to do the shortcut, you're going to have to write this out and do x minus 4 times x minus 4 and distribute. Okay. But hopefully you know the shortcut. Square the first term. So that's x squared. Multiply these two terms together. That gives you negative 4x. And then double it to get negative 8x. And then square the last term to get plus 16. Okay? So again, just to recap, square the first term, x squared. Multiply these two terms together, you get negative 4x. Then you double that, you get negative 8x. Square the last term, you get 16. So those were the parentheses. And now we're going to distribute the -3. Distribute that there, there, and there. So I get f of x equals -3x squared plus 24x minus 48, and then the plus 10 still. And then you combine like terms, you get -38. Okay, moving on to the next page. Now we're going to go the other way. Now I'm giving you equations in vertex form. You have to write them in standard form. Now the key to this problem, to these problems are, you are going to, think about it really quick. We need to get this to look like this. Can you think of something we've done early in the year to make it look like this? What we are going to do is we are going to complete the square. That's how you do these. You complete the square. So, here's what I'm going to do. After the linear term, so after the term with just an x in it, you are going to do the following. Okay? We have x squared plus 12x. After the term with just the x, you're going to do plus blank minus blank, and then plus 32 at the end. Okay? That's after the term with the x. Do plus blank minus blank. And now let's complete the square. Off to the side, take the number before x, in this case 12, always divided by 2. That gives you 6. And then you square the 6 and you get 36. So I'm going to do plus 36 minus 36. And now these first three terms are going to factor to become x plus 6 squared. And then we have minus 36 plus 32. So what you do now is you combine these and you get -4. And that is vertex form. Same thing for part B, okay? After the x term, so after the -6x, you're going to put plus blank minus blank. Let's complete the square. Do it off the side again. Take the number before x, in this case -6. You always divide it by 2, so it gives you -3. And then remember, you always square that. So when you square that, you get 9. This is the stuff you should be doing off to the side somewhere. So I'll put plus 9 minus 9. And now you're going to factor these first three terms. What multiplies to 9 and adds to -6? If you remember, it's whatever that number is. So x minus 3 squared. And we have the minus 9 minus 1. So in the next step, I'll make that -10. Okay, now those weren't too bad because those were, the equation was set up as 1x squared. So those were the quick ones. The next two parts are going to be a little more difficult. Okay? So what you have to do when it's not 1x squared, so this is 1x squared, the next two are not 1x squared. What you have to do is you have to factor out the 3 just from the x squared and the x term, like this, okay? Factor out the 3. So it leaves me with x squared minus 6x. Should have a line. I kind of like that. Okay. Now, you're going to do the completing the square part. So let me do this right now first. 3 times x squared minus 6x, put plus blank, minus blank. And now let's complete the square. Take that negative 6, divide it by 2 to get negative 3. Square that to get 9. That 9 is the number we're going to complete the square with. Plus 9, minus 9. And now we factor the first 3 terms. F of x equals 3 times x minus 3 squared. But we are not subtracting 9 now. You are going to be subtracting 9 times 3. So I'm going to say minus 3 times 9 plus 5. Okay? Because remember, these 3 terms right there that I'm underlining, that became x minus 3 squared. So what's left over is this minus 9 and the plus 5. But that minus 9 is being multiplied by that 3. So that's why I have to do minus 3 times 9. So minus 27 in the next step. Minus 27 plus 5. So minus 22. Okay, last one on this page. Again, this is just like the one we just did. You have to factor out the negative 2. So I'm going to have the following. F of x equals negative 2 times x squared minus 8x. And then the plus 24. Now let's put our blanks. F of x equals negative 2 times x squared minus 8x plus blank minus blank, and then plus 24. Now let's complete the square off to the side. So negative 8 divided by 2 equals negative 4. And then you square that and you get 16. So that 16 is the number we are going to complete the square with. So plus 16 minus 16. So let's factor. You're going to factor the first 3 terms. So these 3 terms are going to get factored. Negative 2 times x minus 4 squared. But again, we have the negative 16 times the negative 2. So I'm going to do, I'll put minus 2 times negative 16 and then plus 24. And now you can make that plus 32 plus 24. So plus 56. And that is vertex form. That was a 34, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a 34. I knew that looked weird. I thought I had the answer memorized. That should be a plus 34. That should be a plus 34. That should be a plus 34. And that should be a plus 66. For some reason, I remembered the 66. Yeah, so I wrote the wrong number in each step. My bad. That should be a 34, 34, 34, 34. This should be a 34 as well. Okay, so sorry about that. You probably noticed it in the video. You were probably screaming at me through the video. Not a big deal. It wasn't that significant in the problem. Okay, so there we go. That's fixed now. All right, last page. Write the equation of the parabola below in vertex form. Okay, so here's what you want to do for these problems. First step, identify or label the vertex, that's the vertex, and identify one more point that you can easily see. So for example, do not choose that point. That would not be smart, okay? Pick a point that you can easily get the coordinates of, like, for example, 4, 1. Okay? So label the vertex and label another point that you can easily get the coordinates of. Now off to the side, we have the vertex, and let's label the point that we just got. Okay? So the vertex is 3, -1. And the point that I chose the point 4, 1. Then you don't have to choose that point, but that's what I chose. Now, the vertex is labeled as HK. And this point, I'm going to call X, Y. Here, so H and K are easy to get. The hard part is figuring out what the A value is in the vertex form. Okay, so here's a vertex form. Y equals A times X minus H squared plus K. The H and the K are easy to get. See, we just got it. We already got the H and the K. Okay? The hard part is figuring out what the A value is. But what we are going to do is we are going to substitute for H and K with the values above, and we are going to substitute for X and Y with our values above. So, Y is 1. A is what we're trying to solve for. That's the hard part of the problem. X we have labeled as 4 above. H is 3 above, so minus 3 squared. Plus K, so it will be plus -1 or just -1. Simplify this and solve for A. Order of operations in the parentheses. 4 minus 3 is 1. One squared is 1. 1 times A is just A, so 1 equals A minus 1. Add 1 to each side, and you get A equals 2. And now we can go into vertex form and get our answer, okay? So remember, vertex form, this is vertex form right there. Replace the A with 2. The X stays. We know H is 3, labeled above. So X minus 3 squared, and we know that K is -1. So this is vertex form. Try another one like that. Okay, this next one. Label the vertex. And label another point that you can easily get the coordinates of, which for me, I'll do that one right there. Okay, so the vertex is 1, 4. And my additional point that I chose 2, 0. So again, the vertex is HK. My point, I'm going to label X, Y. Here is vertex form. Y equals A times X minus H squared plus K. The H and the K are easy to get. We already got those. You have to solve for A now. That is the hard part, okay? Replace the Y with our Y above. The A is what you're trying to solve for. The X gets replaced with our X above. The H gets replaced with our H above. The K gets replaced with our K above. Solve this for A. 2 minus 1 in parentheses is 1. One squared is 1. So 0 equals a times 1, or just a, plus 4. Subtract the 4 on each side, and you get negative 4 equals a. So a equals negative 4. You should know ahead of time that a is negative because it opens down, right? Okay. Anyway, now we can go to our final answer. Y equals a, negative 4, times x minus h. You know h above is 1, so x minus 1 squared, and then plus k, which we labeled above as 4. And that is the end of that lesson. Hey, those are tricky, but that is the end of that lesson. That lesson was called Writing in Standard Form and Vertex Form.